wasn't planning to vlog anymore, but I have some thoughts, so I'm going to share them. Just a little practical update. We are moving. Right now I'm driving a load down to my mom's house. I'm at that stage of moving where you feel like there is no way we are going to get all of this done. There's too much. But then even in the last 2 or 3 hours, so much has gotten done that I'm like, okay, maybe it is going to happen. So it always feels like that. Maybe with every project, certainly with moving. So what I have in the back right now is all of our backpacking stuff and camping stuff. We are also going to drop off Baxter's vehicle. He's behind me. But this is our new van. Super happy with it. Super thankful for it. It feels like such a dream compared to what we've driven for years and years. The thing I feel struck by right now is the ways that church can affect us. We have experienced church in all sorts of settings. We have been observers and participants in church services in other languages. I went to little independent, fundamentalist Baptist sort of churches, and Doug went to Southern Baptist churches. And then in our marriage, we have primarily attended Southern Baptist churches. We have also done house churches overseas, just where maybe us and 2 or 3 other families gathered together each week to worship. Doug's been a pastor. He's served in administrative roles in churches. So we've experienced church from a lot of different angles. And this last 2 years, a little less than 2 years, but we have been a part of our local church here. And it has been such a refreshing time. When we arrived, we were used up and dry and borderline dead is how I've described it. I think we just felt sucked dry. That is not meant to say anything about where we came from. The church members there were a blessing to us, and it was our privilege to be a part of their lives. Other things left us just sucked dry and confused and hurting, distrustful. Anyway, that's a different story that I don't intend to tell here. But I say that to just share the reality of where we were 2 years ago. We were just sucked bone dry. People talk about church hurt sometimes, or spiritual abuse, and those things are real, and they are not right, and they do affect you beyond that church experience. People who experience those things go on, and if people leave a situation like that and are not genuine believers, then it probably gives great ammunition for why they should not trust the Lord, because God's people have proven themselves untrustworthy. But when you are a believer and you experience those kinds of circumstances, it brings about such turmoil. And I would recommend, actually, if you are someone who has gone through church hurt, or you're wondering about it and you want to understand it, that's kind of a light term for it. Spiritual abuse would be another term for it. There are several books and authors and blogs that could be helpful to you. And I'll just tell you right now, Diane Langberg is a phenomenal student and teacher about these things. She has sat at the feet of people who have been wounded in church situations, whether through sexual, clergy abuse, or also just spiritual abuse. She's written a lot about it. Wade Mullen is another one that understands it from the perspective of church staff and elder boards and that kind of thing. So he would be a great resource. He has both of them. I would point anyone to those two resources, and there are more, but those two are really phenomenal because, sometimes when you go into the spiritual abuse world, you'll come across voices, number one, from a variety of theological perspectives, which sometimes can confuse the matter, because some people think that the reason why they were abused is because they were attending a Calvinist church, or attending a prosperity gospel church, or attending a tongues speaking church, or whatever, and they confuse the theological aspects with the power misuse that exists when there is any form of abuse. So that's why I think some of the spiritual abuse literature can be really complicated, and some of it can be not helpful, because you're having to wade through and sort out which things about this were just theological problems that they had, and then how much of this was abuse of power by those who were in authority. And so Diane Langberg and Wade Mullen are the two names that I would highly recommend for anyone processing through those kinds of hurts. They both have been personally helpful to me, and so I commend them to you. But when you've gone through those sorts of circumstances, you come out damaged, and also there's so much chaos and questions in your brain about who is trustworthy, what even, you start to deal with questions like, do I even want to get involved in people's lives again? Can I trust any church leader? Are they all going to be like this? And you also are sorting through, which of their beliefs do I reject it all? Do I reject any of it? Is it something specific to them? There's just so many questions that come when you've been mistreated, lied to, lied about, trashed by those who are in positions of power. So, 2 years ago, I was particularly in a place that was very distrustful and very concerned and very dark. But we believe that Jesus is still Lord. We believe the Bible is still true. We have not abandoned those things. However, I was very suspicious of those who follow him, particularly those who would lead and take roles of power and potentially present two different pictures, one to the public and one when you are in private. There's lots to be said here, but I'm going to limit my comments. Every Sunday, I would go and sit through service and just be so encouraged by the truth of the gospel. I felt so raw, and anything that felt like God was specifically giving a little dropper full of encouragement for me, it just felt so spectacularly encouraging. And I would often just sit and cry through sermons and through songs. I just felt very, very raw and unable to. I've mentioned this before. I'm not good at hiding anything. I'm not good at hiding what I'm going through. It came out. It definitely showed up each Sunday when we were at worship. I just felt like, okay, I know that God is true. I know that he is real. I know that he is ministering to my heart. But these hurts are very deep, and it felt very much like slogging through a lot of pain and confusion. I say all of that to say that this week, as we have had our final Sunday with our church family, and then our last meeting with our life group, which is just maybe 5 families that we just meet with every week, and we talk openly about our struggles and our discouragements and our struggles and the challenges in our lives and all of that. That last time with those sweet families and individuals, and then last night I had my last session with the ladies' Bible study that I've been a part of here at our church. And so all three of those were just so rich with encouragement for us. And also for me, it was like this huge opening of my eyes of all that God has done over the past 20 months as we've been a part of this church. That just through showing up week after week, and I didn't have a lot to give when we first showed up, but I signed up for childcare, and I knew I could sit in the nursery and love on babies, and I didn't teach Bible study actually until this last spring semester I have, but up until now I haven't done nothing by way of what I would think of as spiritual acts of service, but I have showed up and been a part of things, and then served in the children's ministry, and just being affirmed by our church family, and then myself just remembering, calling to mind the way that we showed up, and then now our frame of mind and our hearts full of joy, and the way that God has just refreshed our spirits and our family, and it's been like a rejuvenating time. I just feel very grateful, and I just want to bless the Lord for that and express the goodness of God, and also the goodness of, I guess that would be my final encouragement, would be that even at times when we didn't feel like showing up, we knew that we needed to not get disconnected from the body of Christ. And so even when we couldn't, like Doug had been a pastor, and all throughout every week was counseling people and teaching Sunday school, teaching Sunday nights, preaching from time to time, meeting for discipleship appointments and all that kind of stuff. We were doing premarital counseling together. I was leading ladies' Bible studies and that kind of thing. And we went from that to just burnt out and needing to be fed. And God provided that. And I just want to encourage anyone who's listening that if you have been hurt by the church, I understand that. And don't hear me saying, oh, just be vulnerable and open yourself back up to anyone who wants to be a part of your life, and just open yourself up to any amount of hurt and trust everybody. That is definitely not what I am saying. But I will say that our souls need to be fed. We can walk away from the Spirit of God, and it could produce a sense of starvation in our lives. So I just want to encourage you to feed the Spirit by, even if you just show up and you don't meet anybody and you don't get to know the pastor and you don't trust the pastor, I totally get that. But feed your spirit and look for ways to still serve the Lord, even if they look different than what they did when you were at your strongest. And also, for a while, I did not serve. It probably took me 4 to 6 months of just showing up, bottom in the chair, able to just listen. That was all I could get through. But then as the Lord refreshes your spirit, find ways to serve. I heartily believe that Christ is the one who holds us, that it's not our human endeavors that save us, and it's also not our human endeavors that keep our salvation. That said, we can definitely make decisions that are on a trajectory toward the Spirit or toward the flesh, and what we feed will grow. And so those who walk according to the Spirit set their minds on the things of the Spirit is what Romans says. And